Okay, so yeah, I was going to run a session about bots and hardware, but we had a tiny circle of people and there was a huge circle of people talking about voice, so we merged our sessions to talk about voice interfaces and the physical world generally. And we had a whole lot of different thoughts on that from the group. The initial reaction from people who'd built skills with Alexa was, when it comes to voice interfaces, it's really hard to know where to start, both how you get the user into the interface and what is the right way to trigger your service, what are the right words to use. And I think it mostly comes from the fact that we just don't have that much experience building these things yet. There was a lot of discussion about what is voice good for versus not, and a lot of it, of course, is based on context. Sandy herself had built a skill to train her dog, so she could say, Alexa, tell the service to train my dog to bark. And then she realized that a voice interface wasn't the best way to interact with a dog, because the dog can't trigger Alexa and talk back to it. So then there was a lot of conversation about the wake words, and the fact that it's always Alexa to trigger Alexa, as Hey Cortana, and so on. And the fact that you can't personalize that feels like it's rather limiting, but that it's actually because of a very specific kind of machine learning problem that out of the box, it needs to recognize Alexa said by almost like any human being that might say it, and only later can you start to learn from more voices of your users in context. We talked about how Siri feels like it's trapped inside the phone. Now we've started to get used to Alexa in a physical device, and the fact that it has a little blue light that lights up when it recognizes things. Multiple users are really complicated. It's really hard to know if the same person is in the room as originally set a reminder or something. Politeness is really complicated. There are loads of things we could do if Alexa could just start talking by itself, but it wouldn't know whether it would be interrupting you or whether it was the appropriate time to do so. We talked a little bit about kids and how kids will pretty much trust anything with a voice talking to them, and so the world of exploits with voice interfaces is terrifying for kids. We talked a bit about context and the audit trail of what's happened. At least when you've had a messaging interface by typing with something, or you've had an email trail, or you've written something in an email, you know what happened. Voice is ephemeral, and your interaction with the device disappears into the ether.